And they just ushered me in here, so hi, here I am. Sue, are you part of this? I don't think that I've ever done too many predictable things.
The fool in the north, he's the shadow of God because he's the trickster hero. Now, it's a great shadow. I suppose the most important myth associated with this trickster is that of the flood. It's a very, very important figure in American Indian mythology.
Let's talk about tyrants. Well, not only are they mythological figures, but they exist and they tend to be deified. I mean, Stalin was, for all intents and purposes, God the Father in Soviet Russia, although he was pretty much only the worst elements of Old Testament God, who was, constantly smiting people and wiping out populations and doing all sorts of things that seem to be quite nasty. So that's what happens when the archetypal structure gets tilted badly, when people forget that they have a responsibility to fulfill as citizens, as awake citizens who are capable of stating the truth, and the archetype shifts, so there's nothing left of the great father except the tyrant, and let's not have that happen. It's like he's surrounded by fire and there's Lenin above him who's like king of the fiery realm, and that's for sure. So I mean, all the terrors that happened in the Soviet Union didn't start under Stalin, they started under Lenin, and Stalin was definitely Lenin's legitimate son, let's put it that way. Sometimes you can come across something new that helps you reconfigure the way that you're living almost instantly in a more comprehensive and fuller way. But more common is the traumatic response, which is when the presuppositions of your world are shifted dramatically and you fall into the surrounding chaos, then it's so hard on you that it actually does you psychophysiological damage. If someone goes after you at the good person level of analysis and they just demolish you, in the course of, say, a 3-year relationship, hacking away at the idea that you have any moral worth whatsoever, back to the relationship where there's a betrayal. It's like virtually every time someone gets flipped upside down because of a betrayal in a relationship, after the betrayal happens, they say to themselves, there were all these signs I didn't pay attention to.
Exception of patriarchy. And I don't require men or advise them to be nice. Ever call that brave.
Okay.
Did you read about his life when he was trying to develop that?
Well, so Snoke is on stage making a fool of himself, and then he gets all tangled up in other puppets' strings. That's what happens to him, and then it all ends rather badly with everything being a tangled mess on stage, but it also turns out to be rather funny. And that's the same as the state subjugating itself to the individual, because the individual is the thing that transforms the state. And what the state should do, the state's necessary, because obviously it organizes all of us into peaceful cooperation and competition. The state's necessary. Then the question is the state the highest good? And the answer to that is, well, it can't be, because it's old and dead and blind. And so if the state becomes the highest good, then you're occupied by the spirit of something that's old and dead and blind. Well, that's not only not good for you, because then you're old and dead and blind, but it's also bad for the state, because as soon as the state gets old and dead and blind, God gets unhappy with it and the chaos comes in and washes it away. It coordinates its power to the vision and articulation of the individual, because that's what revives the state. That's the issue, right? Are you behind the dikes, or do you build a boat? Do you captain the boat? That's the same idea. And so the idea here is that the thing that rides out the chaos is the thing that builds and captains the boat. It's another dominance hierarchy idea. What should be at the top? Well, it's the top of something that doesn't get flooded out as well. What should be at the top? Well, it's to be the boat builder and to be the captain of the boat. It's not. And so the question here, it's the same question. Do you want to have a life where there's no storms? Or do you want to have a life where you can ride out the storms? So it's the ultimate in traumatic collapses.
Fires and human trafficking underground.
Like he said, cleaning up.
A prophet arises and says, look, you guys, you're all successful now. You're starting to get corrupt. You're not paying attention to the widows and children. You're not running your state according to the superordinate principle. You might say, well, the superordinate principle doesn't exist. It's like, okay, keep running it that way. and see what the hell happens.
Now he's warning the ones who aren't listening.
We've all seen the pictures online of people who seem to think they're invincible. Well, you're not.
So they'll shuffle off the responsibility, and if that means that, you know, we're dancing in the streets because everything's on fire, that'll be just fine.
Enough is enough.
If that means that, you know, we're dancing in the streets because everything's on fire, that'll be just fine.
Oh shit. What have we got here? A fucking comedian, private joker. I admire your honesty.
I heard you correctly. Private Snowball!
Sir! Private Snowball, reporting his honor, sir!
Private Snowball, you're fired. Private Joker is promoted to squad leader.
Sir, aye, aye, sir!
Yes, affairs, scumbag.
Sir, aye, aye, sir!
Private Pile.
Sir, Private Pile, reporting his orders, sir!
Private Pile, from now on, Private Joker is your new squad leader. That head so sanitary and squared away that the Virgin Mary herself would be proud to go in there and take a dump. Private Joker is silly and he's ignorant, but he's got guts, and guts is enough. Now you ladies carry on.
Sir!
We're
and what's described as a harbinger.
I don't know what it is. It's defensive humor in some sense. Like, let me give you, and I got associated with the frog in a major way, and it's a crazy story, and I won't go into it. But I wore a frog hat on one of my videos that an Indian carver, a Native American carver, had given me, and he had told me that the frog was, in their culture, a harbinger of environmental instability, because if the water's polluted at all, frogs die first. So the frog is the creature in their mythology that warns the society that things are out of kilter. And he had told me that the frog was, in their culture, a harbinger of environmental instability. A harbinger of environmental instability.
A harbinger of environmental instability.
The frogs die first. So the frog is the creature in their mythology that warns the society that things are out of kilter.
It's the canary in the coal mine.
It's the canary in the coal mine. So let me give you an example. I gave my father a Kekistani flag about 3 weeks ago, and he's
Why did you do that?
Well, because he's been following what's happening to me online, you know, and a lot.
They're losing their country. They're losing ownership of the country. And they're right. I mean, we are becoming more diverse.
We are anonymous. Display the rhythm so linear, set the record straight. This system wanna sterilize your life. Minus it. Chances are the smarter ones feeling when I mention it. The truth that is, fact is they blind to it. Energy is changing lately, open up their mind to it. Break the cycle, knock the banks off. Rage against them, never listen when they brainwash. King David, neurons, heavyweights. Learn how my third eye demonstrate. Display the rhythm so linear, set the record straight. Penetrate your patio when my vinyl spin. Lips of my nicks, and yeah, you know what time it is. Free the mind while I sanitize viruses. System wanna sterilize your life. Minus it. Agenda, spread the sublime media. Censorship for view and pleasure. Orange clockwork, force their eyes open. Too many chemical agents and now they skies broken. Wake the dead, brain dead.
I have to know. Why did you do it? What did you hope to accomplish by doing all of this?
I don't know. I wanted to save the world.
Even I didn't know if I really existed.
Arthur, I have some bad news for you.
You don't listen, do you?
Us is a twisty, turny nightmare that advertised itself as a home invasion movie featuring some dastardly doppelgangers. Where will that get us? Judging by the dark omen of Jeremiah 11:11, nowhere good. That's our read on the end, so watch yourself. Before we get to the meaning of Us's final scene, let's talk about the movie's antagonists, the Tethers, keeping our moral fabrics strong. One of the trickier aspects of the movie to figure out is the serendipitous occurrence of the number 11. One of the most notable appearances of that number is on the vagrant sign from the beginning of the movie, which references the Bible verse Jeremiah 11:11, which reads, "Behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape, and though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them." In other words, it's a pretty bad omen for us surface dwellers.
So we have to speak up. Whatever you see injustices at all, you have to speak up. I was born in Warsaw, Poland in 1933.
never stop hunting you. Believe me, I know.
I've come to understand the truth of the Death Stranding.
I'm not the only one wearing masks either. There's your boss man. And that woman. Okay. I know it ain't easy wearing a mask all the time. Now the mask can come off, right? Careful. Contents are fragile. Like the world and everything in it. Nothing like the eve of extinction. Bring focus to the mind.
Oh, there's so much you people don't know. It's so hard to form connections when you can't shake hands. Fortunately, I've got a good connection to the other side. Me, I'm bound to all of it. This world, that world, and our sweet little angel of death.
Nightmares that haunt us, the visions of an inescapable future. Sound familiar? Happy fucking doomsday!